Great intro. I know. And now everybody's bracing for what the heck is going on. And I like to put the newsy news right up front. The news is it's break time. I've got to have a break. I'm going to talk all about how long that will last, what will be going on here on the channel while I'm on a break, which on its own is kind of counterintuitive, but you might want to know it. And I'm going to look back at the year and talk a bit about this year and what it's been for me, and look forward to next year a little bit in kind of a one-man solo Yap Fest podcast thing. And I hope that some of you will come along for the ride as we get ready to celebrate the holidays. The day I'm recording this, Christmas Eve, this is probably releasing Christmas Day, which a lot of you hopefully are spending time with family and on a break of your own and enjoying it. And rest assured, I'm taking a little break myself. But what does that mean for the channel and the releases on the channel? I'll do that part first. But then after that, we're going to get into all kinds of yappy things about this year to make this a proper length YouTube video. So you wanted the short version, there it is. So what is going to happen? Well, first big question for me, how did this come about? I'm very much a work through Christmas guy. You can look back at the channel, and over the years, there was only one time I took a break, and it was part of a kind of a planned gimmick thing where we did the Croquis battle, and then I took a month plus off. And I swore I'd never do that again, because behind the scenes, the channel analytics and the monetization analytics, they never recovered from that. It was a huge drop off, and then when they came back, nothing was where it was before it. And that might be the hype that was built up, and plenty of viewers might have decided that's where their journey with CGB ends. But from a monetization standpoint, like, it didn't explain why the monetization never reached the rates it was before. And that might have just been the timing. I think this was the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, something like that. So obviously pandemic ad rates and such, but I've always looked back at that as like, ooh, I should have kept working, because it was never that good again, and hasn't been ever since. And that might just be a generational thing. It might be a weird association in my brain, but my brain can't stop saying, oh, you took a break and it hurt your algorithm forever. You know what I mean? So anyway, I swore I'd never just take a full section off, but then I was with my family recently, a few days ago, and one of them asked when my next trip would be that didn't have anything to do with Magic. And I looked at the release calendar, and I looked at the MagicCon calendar for 2026, and I was just sitting there like, okay, not there. Oh, yep, nope, not there. Nope, there's a release there. Nope, there's a MagicCon there. Nope, there's another release there. Nope, that's a MagicCon. And I had to look at them and say, next December. Maybe next December, I can actually take a trip with my wife that has nothing to do with magic or something like that. And they looked at me like, oh, Jesus. They gave me this look. I'll probably never forget it. So, yeah, it's, in a lot of ways, it's now or never, guys. Or at least not until next December, which is a long time. The idea of another year before my next break is a bit scary, so we got to recharge the battery. So with that in mind, looking at the release schedule for next year and just the timing, the layout of everything, holy crap. Assuming I still have content to make around Magic the Gathering, which, don't get me wrong, it's a great life, and I'm grateful for it, and I swore I'd do the hustle, and hustle we have, and hustle we will, but this is break time, and I need to recognize that regardless of like YouTube's ad rate fluctuations or whatever. This is break time, and we're going to take that break. But on that note, like, what's going to happen on this channel? I actually am lining up content for you while I'm on a break, which I know sounds crazy, but it's going to be remastered episodes from the past that I think will have good entertainment value in present day. So you'll see posts on this channel that might be like when CGV played Yorion for the first time. So like videos my editor Libby did not get to work on in the past. She's going to grab them, do some remastering of them, maybe change the order of the games in it, pull the best games, and make videos around like the first time CGB saw Oko, Thief of Crowns, or these are just ideas, just some of the best and most popular videos I've done in the past. She's going to take a spin on them, put those on the channel, and you guys can enjoy some flashback videos for the next couple of months, and you can leave me comments about how I used to be so young and full of energy and life before 3-year standard attacked it. Or you could leave nice comments. That would be cool. You could say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. That would be cool. So that's what's going to be on the channel. And I'm going to encourage the Shorts editor to do the same and maybe make some great moments out of those past videos. So for a few weeks, probably into early January, that is the kind of posting you can expect here. And if you're totally not into going back to the past and watching some cool moments, you can just wait till I return in January. But I hope you guys will enjoy it. I think it will be better than nothing. Hopefully it also does not destroy the algorithm. But hey, if you click on the videos and watch them, then that, of course, ensures algorithm no destroy-y. So watch for those coming out over the next few weeks, but rest assured, I'm on a break. I'm chilling, and the editors, to be clear, the editors want the work. Like, and if they don't, it's somebody's gonna leave a comment that I'm a terrible person, a terrible boss for making them work over the holidays. If they don't want the work, they can also take a break. I'm confident they want the work. If editor, you're hearing this, if you want a break, I get it. You just let me know. It's not mandatory. Anyway, moving along, Commander. We will probably have a game, worst possible Commander show game in early January for the Lorwyn release. We've been on a break, and it's been actually a very nice break. It's been very good, I think, for my love of throwing down in Commander. Like I said, I was very burnt out on building decks and just playing the game for a little bit there, and the deck building spark is back, and the gameplay spark, I believe, is soon to come. And it'll be back in full swing in Lorwyn. So what a year. We're going to move into the reflecting part of the video here for those of you riding along. What a year. I got to do so many things this year. I committed at the beginning of, well, kind of 2 years ago, I committed that I was going to try to get out there through other channels as much as I could. I was going to be in as many episodes of other things on other channels as often as I could. I basically made myself available, like, you got a seat and a Commander table, you want me, I'll find a way to be there. And what a year. We were on game nights as a guest for the first time for Spider-Man, one of my long-time goals, very long-time goals. I've wanted to do that for years, and now that it's happened, it's pretty surreal. But I got to play Gwen Stacy on game nights and got knighted, Sir Go Blue, whatever you want to say, Covert Go Knighted. But yeah, that meant a lot. I hope you guys have watched that episode. I believe we did 4 shuffle up and plays with the prof. Thank you. Prof sent me this hoodie. This Tolarian Community College hoodie. If you haven't watched those, I encourage it. Lots of fun memories there. The most recent one I did with Voxy, Josh Lee Kwai, was one of my favorite games to ever play. Commander at Home. I believe I was in 3 Commander at Homes. One just came out yesterday, I think. It was Zach the Bold, and what a wild game. If you haven't seen, somewhere out there, I hope the folks of the Goldfish podcast are proud of me. I have settled the wreckage myself on turn 4 to ramp like 6 lands, and I used a Surveyor Scope and a Go-Go Master of Mimicry and a Fable Passage to ramp something like, what was that, like 9 lands? No, it was 6 lands there as well in my mono blue deck. I definitely rewrote the rules of ramp on Commander at Home. You should check out those episodes. They're always a lot of fun. It's good to be there. And I was on Pack It Up with Ben Bateman. Talia Vess was there, and it was a heck of an experience. So if you want to see me play Chaos Draft, check out Pack It Up. Chaos Draft with every set ever made in Magic is it's a little insane. It's a little insane. Skill Check. I did 4 episodes of Skill Check, including Shock Collar Commander. I still wake up with a little like, ugh. It was a very scary episode. It was a ton of fun. And thank you very much to Skill Check for having me. Got to meet Charlie, Moist Critical, as well as his crew. Very awesome team. I don't know how many things I did with Raren and Simo. It's probably over 50. It's probably not over 100, but almost every week we were hitting each other up to do videos. Simo particularly, despite his battles with chemo throughout the year, we still made a lot of videos, and always fun. Those guys, I owe those guys a lot. They really helped my channel. They helped me believe in the power of Yap, that like an audience wouldn't tune out the second I didn't have Magic Arena in front of me. And anybody watching this video is like, you're a testament to that. Thank you very much for that. But I don't know if I could have done it without Raren and Simo. Raren in particular, making me do the Hearthstone rating videos and getting me out of my individual private shell a bit really has helped the channel. Means a lot. So thanks to both of them. I know I was on the MTG Goldfish podcast. I think that was twice this year. Maybe it was only once. Maybe I'm thinking of a time last year. Love those guys. Love MTG Goldfish's channel. Listen to them regularly. So that was kind of a big hit for me. Strongly recommend the MTG Goldfish podcast. And then we got to promote other games, which is crazy. Aside from the occasional like one-off sponsored video and such, I got to do some more major recording sessions. Most recently, the Godzilla card game sponsored a box opening episode and a 1v1 gameplay episode that you can find on the channel, where I got to battle Shay. I've been a Godzilla fan since before I can remember. It's one of the first properties I remember latching onto as a kid, and it blew my mind that I got to play a card game around one of my favorite properties, and that they sponsored the channel. That was amazing. Blizzard Hearthstone stepped up and sponsored like that big event, Raren's Rumble. Those videos were insane to make. That was one of the most fun like weekends I got to have. And then Riftbound, the first Riftbound Shuffle Up and Play, hopefully not the last, but currently the only one at the time I record this. I got to be a guest there. So thank you, Riot, for having me as an approved member of the Riftbound Gaming Club. That was really cool to make. And thanks to Prof for having me involved in that as well. So actually getting to work in other games for the first time, really. Like I've done it, like I've messed around. We did a Shadowverse video last year, and I don't want to diminish that. That was a lot of fun too. We had Crim out for that. But just getting to do like sponsored work around these other games has really helped support the studio where we record Worst Possible Commander Show, Lantern Games in Traverse City, Michigan, and just running that. And it's allowed me to keep making paper content. So thanks to everybody who watches those and checks those out. What will next year bring as far as sponsored content like that? I really don't know. But let me know in the comments if there's a game you really want me to play for the channel. I know Simo's talked about making me actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm a little scared. Can you tell? But really, it's I won't say it's like mega branching out, because most of these games I play them a little bit and then I come back to them when they have a new set release, but I'm still playing Magic almost every day. So it doesn't feel like I'm like locked into those games. I'm touristing a bit, but it does help to have more tools in the toolbox, more in the arsenal, right? And it always feels like a nice like 1 or 2 week break away from Magic when I'm trying to lock in and figure out a new game. So that was cool. And then, of course, Magic the Gathering. Oh my gosh, what a year we had in Magic the Gathering. So reflecting on the Magic this year, I like to look at it by sets. You can look at each individual set. As a collector of Magic, I try to collect every single set, and I try to get at least one copy of each card, usually in the regular frame, because those are the cheapest and the ones I like to play the most because I know what they look like. I still love the look of a classic Magic card, and I don't always want all the other bizarre like treatments and such. Sometimes they get crazy. You guys know this. Sometimes they're beautiful, sometimes they're crazy. I still just try to collect the original card in the original frame, at least one of each from each set. So I follow the sets pretty closely. This year I started with Innistrad Remastered. That's got to be one of the tamer remastered sets they've done. It feels like we were just there. It feels like Midnight Hunt is not old and Crimson Vow is not old. And I know it's actually been a few years. In Magic Land, like, we didn't always go back to these, like, quote, popular sets every 2 to 3 years. Like it seems like we've started doing with Ravnica and such. 18 years to go back with Lorwyn. I can't tell you how many times now we've done Dominaria and Innistrad and Ravnica, but it's a lot, so it doesn't feel special. So whether they did Dominaria Remastered, Ravnica Remastered, and now Innistrad Remastered, I think they really wore themselves out on remastered sets, and that's probably why Innistrad Remastered will be the last remastered set for a while. Also because of all the IPs that they're doing. We'll get into that. Universes Beyond is probably just taking the place of remastered indefinitely, but that's good. I think there was not meant, I think it just wasn't meant to be every year, guys. A remastered set every year is too much, especially focused on a plane the way that Dominaria and now Innistrad and Ravnica were. You just run out of planes, you run out of action. You know what I mean? So Innistrad was proof of that. Wasn't a very exciting remastered set, to be honest. It was fine. It wasn't great. Man, this year started a little cold, didn't it? Because the first standard set of the year was Aether Drift. Aether Drift. Oh, wow. The term hat set came around with, like, I think Outlaws of Thunder Junction started with Murders at Karlov Manor. Of, like, okay, well, it's all your favorite characters, but now we make them detectives. Now we make them cowboys. Now we make them race car drivers. I think Aether Drift was by far the most disliked set in the Magic universe, at least, because this was the hat set taken too far. Like, this was the official, like, jumping of the shark. Because now, instead of getting sets that revisited the planes that we liked, like I'm still gonna say Kaladesh. I haven't learned the other one name. They changed it, and I'm still working on it. Don't be mad at me. It's hard to keep up with everything when you've locked it in up here and you're my age. I'll work on it. I think it's Avishkar. I'm not positive, so we move on. Amonkhet. I think people were interested to see what happened to Amonkhet after Bolas absolutely destroyed and ravaged that plane. And instead, we got to race through it, literally. And then we did get a new world, Maganda, which appears to have, like, dinosaurs and cool animals. And I think plenty of people would be down for Prehistoric Ikoria 2.0. But once again, we raced right through it, all to highlight themes of race cars and more race cars, homages to Akira, jokes about Fast and the Furious, Mad Max. It wasn't there, guys. It wasn't there. And even the frames, like that yellow frame, I told everybody after I saw the cards it looked better in person, and it did. But that doesn't fix that you can't make it look good online. You can't make it look good on camera. That's a huge problem. That kind of thing, I think, has to be avoided at all costs in 2025 and forward. It's got to look good on the internet. It's got to look good on camera. And the yellow frames just couldn't. It was the butt of a lot of jokes. I am curious how, like, Aether Drift actually sold, but you know, you can't look at that and think it's great next to a bunch of other Magic products. And it feels bad, man, because this is what's representing the Magic IP in 2025. This is why executives are looking at sales figures and saying Universes Beyond is a guaranteed selling point, and we'll get to that because maybe now they're not. We'll see. But ask yourself honestly as we go through this list: did Spider-Man outsell Aether Drift? I think 100,000% yes. My opinion is 100,000% yes, and it's too bad because I want Magic IP to succeed. Aether Drift was not it. Is not it, man. But we go on to something that's a little more Tarkir Dragonstorm. Tarkir Dragonstorm takes us back to a plane that many people absolutely love, and I've been waiting to revisit. It gives us a pretty cool story and lore, if you follow that kind of thing, based in the Magic universe. The maybe death of Jace, the maybe return of Bolas, the return of Ugin. It's like they're getting the band back together a little bit so that we can have some of those classic characters in our Magic world once again, because they know that's what Magic players like to see. And I was optimistic. I said many times, hey, maybe all this Universes Beyond that they do gives them more time to make good story for Magic, and maybe they can make these Magic sets that are Magic IP absolute bangers. And Aether Drift definitely stalled that out for a minute, but then Tarkir Dragonstorm in a lot of ways brought it back. It's a very good set. It's a solid set for Commander. It was a solid set for Standard, with a few outliers that had to be banned. Corey Steel Cutter comes to mind. What does that card even have to do with Tarkir? But they had to do it, I guess. You got to push the set. You got to sell the set. Here's the biggest problem with Tarkir Dragonstorm. This could have been set of the year, I think, if it had more Standard impact. They needed cards in the 3-color pairs like Siege Rhino that pushed a color combination so hard that you played that color combination. It did not feel like you came out of Tarkir Dragonstorm Standard with an Abzan deck, with a Jeskai deck. Not really. It didn't feel tied to the clans. I think that was a missed mark on their part, and probably the biggest problem with Tarkir Dragonstorm. I think we all wanted to come out of there remembering the days of like Mantis Rider Jeskai and Siege Rhino Abzan with a deck. We got homages to those cards, but we didn't get good enough cards to actually make a dent in Standard, and therefore Tarkir Dragonstorm is a bit of an afterthought other than Corey Steel Cutter. And I think that is a big problem. That was an oopsie, but it was a fun set. Happy to see it. Loved it. And here was the other problem with Tarkir Dragonstorm. The elephant in the room. The Siege Rhino in the room. It was in the shadow for the entire period of its release. It was in the shadow of Final Fantasy. At this point, Final Fantasy pre-orders had already begun. The pre-order prices on the collector booster boxes were absolutely stealing every bit of thunder from the Dragonstorm. Everything in the discourse was around Final Fantasy and how huge it was going to be. And it lived up to that. It did it. It was the best-selling Universes Beyond set of all time by a number of metrics. It was the best-selling Magic set of all time by a number of metrics. And it probably always will be. I do think this is what do you call this? This is an anomaly. This is a unicorn. This is an IP that was just enough Magic and provided exactly the type of collectible this audience wanted, that it got combined with speculation and investors, and it just all went through the roof. It all went to the moon. And it's going to be interesting to look back at Final Fantasy as, is this the top of the mountain? And if so, like how do they beat it? Is the question I keep asking myself, is how do you get back there? Wizards seems confident they can, at least, well, Hasbro board members, Hasbro CEO seems confident they can. I'm not so sure. This honestly looks like a full anomaly, an absolute perfect storm. Perfect Dragonstorm, not so much. That was the last set. But a perfect storm of these things coming together to create this pure monster of a set, which was Final Fantasy. And it was executed in so many ways. A home run on so many senses. I know people loved it in Limited. It had impact in Standard. Just look at VV. Although it was kind of it was like, there's a handful of cards here and there from Final Fantasy that still see play, but VV was a majority of its impact in that power outlier. But then in Commander, so many powerful cards, so many legends, and you just look at the way the product sold. It's like, what can you say? It was the absolute juggernaut that hit everybody over the head with the power of Universes Beyond, and it's undeniable. Nobody can point now and say Universes Beyond doesn't work. We know it works. Now we can just be like, well, you can be frustrated with it, or you can deal with it, or you can try to understand it. Like all of these things, I'm all of these things at once in a lot of ways, because it is like a great Universes Beyond set is incredible. There's no other way to put it. I felt that way about Lord of the Rings. I feel that way about Final Fantasy. And I do think these are anomalies. I just don't think that you can do that every time. And the more you do it, I think the less likely you are to make that happen every time. But anyway, Final Fantasy, probably by far the set of the year, maybe even the set of the decade when it comes down to it for Magic. We will see. There's so much to be learned from Final Fantasy and see the results going forward. And even the results later in the year are so interesting in the shadow of Final Fantasy. We'll talk about it. But then we get to the last Magic set of the year, Edge of Eternities, released in July, which still blows my mind, and released 100% in the shadow of Spider-Man, and I believe even some Avatar, The Last Airbender previews were already out at the time. Edge of Eternities also had the misfortune of looking like a hat set. Again, another Aether Drift, another Outlaws of Thunder Junction, another Murders at Karlov Manor. This was going to be the set where everybody had astronaut space helmets on, and that was it. It's Magic in space, right? That's the vibe here. And I'm happy to say we were wrong about that. I was wrong about that. Edge of Eternities is a really good Magic set. They really fleshed out a number of worlds, a number of different types. Like, what does green mean in space? I think they nailed it. Red in space and their terraforming behaviors, I think they nailed it, as well as like black and white, the Sephora. So the lore was really good. That's another thing about it. They actually got a very talented sci-fi writer to write the story, and it was a very readable, enjoyable story. I listened to it on audio on a train in Austria on a trip that I took with my wife through Austria and Germany. And I listened to the whole story on the train and was like, you know what? That's an upgrade. That's an improvement. That's a good story. The lore on Edge of Eternities was deep and treated well. That was cool to see. And the cards are good. Like, Ice-Hill Explorer is a very amazing Magic card in a number of formats, and it does a lot of great things. And I think we're still kind of finding little cards here and there from Edge of Eternities that are making a difference in Standard, like Lumbering World Wagon. That card is an absolute killer. Mightform Harvester just started hitting Standard, and it's hitting it very hard. And of course, Quantum Riddler, hell of a card from the set. So Edge of Eternities, I think, is the best Magic the Gathering set of 2025, Magic the Gathering IP set of 2025, beating Tarkir Dragonstorm, and I would consider that a big upset. I mentioned the issues with Tarkir Dragonstorm. The shadow of Final Fantasy was massive. The shadow of Spider-Man and Avatar was over Edge of Eternities. And I think that's why in the early days of Edge of Eternities, it felt like the hype was not there. As a content creator, you saw it. Like, the video views were down. The interaction was down. Part of that might be Standard being all VV Cauldron for this period, with the knowledge that wasn't going to change. And that's a rant for a different video. But I give a lot of credit to Edge of Eternities as a rock solid set. People are still finding the cards in it that work, which is kind of amazing considering it's been months. And it was, ignore this set at your own peril. It might actually turn out to have the most playable cards in it for Standard, and maybe even for Commander, honestly, when you look at the way that this is shaping out. I also want to talk about this. Precons. This was a weird year for precons in Magic the Gathering. And as a Commander player, playing with the precons is a big part of what I do. It's a big part of the Worst Possible Commander show. It's a big part of other Commander shows. Following the precons is a lot more, I think, than people realize if they don't play much Commander or only play like upgraded precon or like bracket 4, bracket 5 Commander. But the precons are important products. And when we look over the year, the Tarkir Dragonstorm precons were fine, but I don't think any of them, like, it was really sad because I feel like the the Jeskai one and the Abzan one in particular were very meh. Beitor was not the face commander. Most people grabbed Beitor out of the Abzan one and played Beitor a bunch on the side. And that was Voice of the Ancestors, I think it's called. Anyway, not a bad card, but most people didn't play the precon. They just nabbed the Beitor. The Jeskai precon with Narset was... it just felt like a very meh generic Jeskai. It didn't feel like a Tarkir Jeskai. And then you had Tevel, which is an amazing card, awesome card, great precon, and Uremi, which it was the most dragony of the precons, excellent. And the Mardu one with Zergo was very good. So good, like I would say 3 out of 5 good in Tarkir. Dragonstorm and providing very powerful cards. Final Fantasy with its 4 precons designed around the different games were low powered but high flavor. Low powered, high flavor. If you love Final Fantasy, you probably love those precons. They are some rock solid commanders. Y'shtola, Knights Blessed is amazing. The Cloud is a great Voltron commander. It's fine. Terra, actually not as exciting, but probably one of the best, actually, sneakily out of that group. That said, if you didn't love the individual games, it struggled to make a lot of sense. Like a bunch of legendaries were crammed into these decks that didn't feel right, like the Sephiroth in the Cloud deck, but it's Final Fantasy VII, so they had to have a Sephiroth, and that Sephiroth had to be Boros, even though the black is the Sephiroth that's in the main set, right? So some of that stuff was weird. It's just weird, especially if you didn't play Final Fantasy. It's just weird. Then you get to Edge of Eternities, and I preface this by talking about we want to talk about these precons for Edge of Eternities because, oh my God, the Aether Drift precons took the approach of one of them being set completely on Amonkhet and the other being set completely on Kaladesh. And they were so bad. Like, energy had nothing to do with the set. They did a great job with the art and flavor in a number of the cards and the reprints they chose to call back to previous standards and build those into like the energy deck, for example. But that didn't make the energy deck good. These were very underpowered precons. Same thing for the Zombies of Amonkhet. Incredibly underpowered precons. Very sad to see that in a set that really needed a power boost, Aether Drift, that needed a reason to sell the set because it already had these headwinds against it of being a weird take on the IP. And anyway, not good. Edge of Eternities, different approach. Insanely powerful precons. Hearth Hull is nuts. I have never lost a game with this deck. I retired it. I need to bring it out of retirement just to see if anyone can beat it. And yeah, I know you're out there with your CEDH deck saying Arthel's not good in CEDH. But remember, this is a precon. All right. Precons don't play against CEDH decks very often. Okay. So yeah, I haven't lost in bracket 2, 3. I would say somebody played a bracket 4 against me. Hearthall hasn't lost. Okay. The deck is an absolute monster. And in a lot of the games I did on camera, I purposely slowed myself down. I was like, I'm going to end this game on turn 4, and that's not a good video. So oops, wow, somehow forgot to cast my Scape Shift this turn with the mana I had floating. Wow, weird. Your turn. Please do something about me. Maybe we've all been there. Maybe none of you have been there. Maybe that just blew your mind. I don't know. Hearthall is an insane commander, an insane deck. And then on the other hand, Kylo is equally, like the precon isn't as powerful, not even close, but the upgraded version with just a few more cards in it suddenly goes infinite with everything. And so 2 insane precons that actually felt perfectly at home in the world of Edge of Eternities, I think is a home run. Best precons of the year, both in power level and in how they fit into the world and represent that world. A+ on those. Loved them. So in that sense, I think Edge of Eternities is the best Magic IP set of the year. And I'm surprised to say that because I had written it off as a hat set in my mind quite a while ago when the set was revealed. And I was just like, ugh, space. Now we got to do space. No, wrong. And it gives me hope that there are things that have been announced in the future and that will continue to be announced in the future from Magic, that creative team can still surprise me and still take my expectations and thwart them. And I think some of us, we want to jump to conclusions and we want to make posts online about our feelings so much that we just assume we already know how everything goes. And while you and I may have been right about Aether Drift being bleh, we were wrong. I think we were wrong about Edge of Eternities to everybody out there who posted, who wasn't enthused about Edge of Eternities. I think people are still learning how good this set is. And it might be one of those that even a year from now, we're finding out how good some of these cards are in Commander, and they might break things in Standard down the line as well. So Edge of Eternities, awesome. Let's talk about Spider-Man. I don't think I've ever made a video talking about Spider-Man. I was behind the scenes working on the Spider-Man for game nights and, of course, on my own content, and saw all the discourse around Spider-Man. Everybody has at this point. I'm so late to this party, almost intentionally, because I didn't feel I had much to add. I agree with the majority of the sentiment out there. This was an undercooked set, and it underdelivered on the promise of the IP. And I think it was amplified. Like the quote downfall of Spider-Man was amplified for two reasons. One, nobody likes scalpers. Like you just don't win in the arena of public opinion if you're going to try to buy collector boxes near MSRP and resell them for thousands. And that was a huge part of what went down with Final Fantasy. So the finance bros of Magic the Gathering got hurt with Spider-Man because those collector booster box prices inflated to like $1,000. And then when people found out the set wasn't that good and people didn't want it, those prices have, of course, plummeted back down to close to MSRP in the 400 to 500 range. And big W, for everybody out there just trying to get their Magic cards at MSRP who hate that this side of the community inflates things this way. So yeah, they're gonna crow about it, and that's just what you sign up for. If you scalp, you will never be the good guy. That's just the fact. And when you take an L, they will cheer. You have to be comfortable with being a villain. It's like being a blue mage every day, quite honestly. And that was a big reason for like a lot of the Spider-Man discourse. That was a big part of it. The other part of it is that it's Universes Beyond. And that it's Universes Beyond that doesn't look like it comfortably fits in the high fantasy world of Magic the Gathering. This is what people have been skeptical for a while. People didn't think Doctor Who fit very well, but they could ignore it because it was a Commander product. But here we are. So off and on through this Universes Beyond experiment, these early days of it, there have been things revealed that are like Magic the Gathering, but with this Universes Beyond property. And people have been skeptical. Like, can they pull it off? And this was the first time they really didn't. Like, you could say what you want about things like Doctor Who, but I think the Doctor Who fan base would say they were happy enough with the product. The Warhammer decks, I think the Warhammer community and Magic Warhammer crossover community would say that was a home run, right? Like they pulled it off. And even for people who don't participate much in some of these IPs, like I don't participate in Final Fantasy at all, didn't know anything about Final Fantasy. The only one I played was 1 because I'm old. I couldn't say they didn't pull it off because looking at the Final Fantasy cards, it was like, okay, I think I get the Final Fantasy story. I think I get what people like about this. Very exciting stuff to get into. Spider-Man was a dud. There's no other way to put it. It didn't hit I think you would have to be an all-in Spider-Man fan to be absolutely 100% excited by the set. Just the amount of Spider-Man cards on an already smaller than expected set was deflating. This would be a great time for Libby to just cover the screen and all the Spider-Man cards she can find. There's something about that is such a turnoff. Couple that with the modern setting in New York City, right? That is so hard to digest as a collector. And I collected the entire Spider-Man set because I collect every Magic set, and I stuck with it, and I got myself every single Spider-Man. And yep, That's a binder I have now. It's more of a laughable situation. And here's the thing about it, though. For all the L's, like this gave people who have been hating on Universes Beyond since The Walking Dead, this gave them the ammo to say, see, it doesn't always work. See, this can be a problem. Here's the problem for them. I am still 100% confident this outsold Aether Drift. I am still confident this sold as much or more than Edge of Eternities. That should be terrifying to those of you who don't want Universes Beyond to be a major part of this game. That's the fact. Now, so I don't think you should be dancing in the street about this being a W because Spider-Man wasn't a great set. I am confident. I don't know this. I can't prove it. And that's the thing. You guys can leave me in the comments if you found proof or whatever. I can't prove that Spider-Man outsold these things. It's a feeling I get. It's a feeling I get as a lifelong Magic player in the content creator space who has access to behind the scenes stuff, who works on a lot of projects, who kind of sees the ebbs and flows of prices and trends online. I collect every set. I play every set. Even with the Through the Omen Paths problems on Arena and all that, I still think this outsold Aether Drift for sure, maybe Edge of Eternities. And that tells you the power of Universes Beyond here, that their dud sets can be so powerful. And that's obviously why what we see coming down the line is coming down the line. So, there's not a lot more to say about Spider-Man. I think they know they messed it up. I think they know they have to do better with the Marvel sets in the future. I think they will. I think the Marvel set next year will outsell Spider-Man. I think it will be a better overall set, and I'm very interested to see how it does. But if you have to also see this just a little from a business and branding perspective. As much as you guys can point and say Spider-Man wasn't a great set, does that really matter? Is a question you have to consider. Magic the Gathering has a Marvel IP, a Disney Marvel IP on the box with Magic the Gathering on it. Like, that's an insane amount of exposure. That's an insane amount of new recognizability. Like, from a brand perspective, that is a W. And it's so anecdotal. I know it's anecdotal, but like, I think it's a good example. I was talking to a middle school here in my hometown of Traverse City, Michigan. I was talking to a cafeteria middle school students about what I do for a living. And I was telling them about Magic the Gathering. And somebody had one kid, it was probably like 6th or 7th grader, had brought their Final Fantasy deck to school to have me sign their Tidus from Final Fantasy. And I was like, okay, so like big fan of that. And then when I started explaining what Magic the Gathering was, and I said they started to do some crossovers with other sets, like you guys know Fortnite, right? They're also doing crossovers like Fortnite does. And a kid straight up says, there are Spider-Man cards. This kid was probably in 6th grade. Like this little kid just goes, there are Spider-Man cards. I did this same thing about 3 years ago. 2 years ago, something like that, to a completely different group of middle schoolers around the same age. None of them had any idea what Magic the Gathering was. They didn't. I had to explain the whole thing, and most of it came down to it's like Pokemon. And they're like, oh, this time a kid had a deck. A kid knew that there was Spider-Man in the game, a different kid, and a bunch of kids already knew who I was when I walked in the cafeteria. Last time I walked into a classroom and everybody was like, who's this? This time I walked into a cafeteria and a bunch of kids were already like clapping, and some of them were doing a rather uncomfortable like bowing thing. Part of this could be that I got myself out there more, like we talked about earlier in the video, but I don't think that is nearly as impactful as like these IPs. The fact that they know about Spider-Man, like every kid knows who Spider-Man is, and none of them knew who Magic was, but now they see that there are Magic cards with Spider-Man. They know what Magic is. That recognizability alone is something corporations pay millions for. I am tangenting, I know. Hopefully you find some of this perspective interesting. Let's move on. But I just can't I can't look at Spider-Man as an L, even though I know all the valid criticisms of the set and the big W that is seeing the scalpers get scalped, but Spider-Man was not an L. It really wasn't for Wizards of the Coast. And that reality, I think, is going to define how much Universes Beyond we will see in the future for the foreseeable future. The answer is a lot. It is. Avatar: The Last Airbender ends the year. I think this set would have been an absolute hype set if not for the Spider-Man kind of letdown, because it really popped the balloon on the speculation, which is good for you guys, good for me. We got our Avatar: The Last Airbender collector boosters and singles at lower prices than we did our Final Fantasy collecty boosties and singles by a mile. So that's a W in its own way. And Avatar is a good set. It feels right in Magic. I had not watched Avatar. I was a little old for it when it came out because I'm very old. But my wife and I went and we watched the whole Avatar thing. Raren's a huge Avatar fan. He told us to watch it. We did in preparation for the set. It's a good show. Solid show. Absolutely excellent. And as they say, a kid's show that has adult themes. Yep. It grows along with the kids. Yep. Like Naruto, if it were shrunk down to just 4 seasons. Yep. Love it. Absolutely appreciate Avatar as an IP, and it worked in Magic the Gathering. And I don't see a lot of hate out there for it. It's kind of a wholesome IP in that way. It's kind of a bulletproof, good set. The Magic fatigue definitely set in by November when Avatar was released. Or was it October? It was one of those. At this point, it was like there were so many sets, and the roller coaster from Final Fantasy peaks down to Spider-Man valleys was the vibe was a bit exhausted. And they did ban some cards. They made some huge ban announcements before Avatar came out, and then Avatar comes out and the set's pushed. It's powerful. It's got really good cards and decks built into it, and we got to see it in action at Worlds, and that did give Standard, I think, a little bit of a good note to go out on the end of the year. And in Commander, you have a ton of powerful commanders from the set. So Avatar: The Last Airbender is a hit. It also, even though we're several months removed, lives in the shadow of Final Fantasy, while also oddly in the shadow of the Spider-Man letdown that came after Final Fantasy. It lands somewhere in the middle, which makes it less memorable and special, which I don't think is fair. Because if this had been the only Universes Beyond set of the year, I think people would have a completely different opinion of Universes Beyond, and it would have been a slam dunk home run. As it is, it was one of many, and it feels like something very met in the middle, which does add to the diminishing returns of Universes Beyond. It's like, if everything's special, nothing is special. If everything's a blockbuster sellout, nothing is. And it does feel like Universes Beyond is trying to hit these home runs every time, leading to these really like seriously, guys, we're excited about only paying like $50 to $100 over MSRP for Spider-Man as if like we won something. It's really bizarre, the world that we live in from that standpoint. And I do think that one of the, I would say, threats to Universes Beyond and Magic, because Universes Beyond is such a big part of Magic, is the if everything's hype, nothing is hype issue. So we'll see as we go into next year. That's the year. That's the year in review. It's hard not to give Final Fantasy set of the year. Obviously, it blew the doors off a number of things. It's hard, but like from a Magic standpoint, I think it's Edge of Eternities. To be honest, I'm surprised. I thought Tarkir Dragonstorm would win that handily, but I think Edge is where it's at. Avatar is probably my favorite set of the year. I just really wish we had done it. I wish it weren't the last set of the year, because going into it, I was pretty burnt out on Standard and Commander, deck building and playing. And I don't feel like I gave it all the hype and love I wanted to. And hopefully it's something I can do into the future. But you don't get a lot of time to breathe in this business, do you? Because next year is coming, baby. Lorwyn Eclipsed. This set is got a very short preview season that's coming very soon. Lorwyn Eclipsed is very different from, I would say, Eldraine It is not the same. Very different from Bloomborough, different from their like takes on these like fantasy worlds. And I think it will hit some people it will hit the sweet spot for some people. I don't know about the like mass appeal of Lorwyn Eclipsed and if it can rise above like the kind of shell that Magic set seems stuck in where they don't get out of their own. Like Bloomborough, I would say broke out, right? Bloomborough was appealing to everybody, and I think it probably appealed to people who were here from Universes Beyond. I think Lorwyn Eclipse might do that. Can it rise above an Edge of Eternities or a Tarkir Dragonstorm that seems stuck in specifically the range of classic Magic players and also appeal to the new players? Maybe. I'm sure that's their goal. We'll see if Lorwyn Eclipse can do it. It is an exciting set. It is a useful set. I believe it's a powerful set in multiple formats, and I'm excited to play with it in the near future. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now we get into like, how do we approach this? Universes Beyond. First of all, 7 sets, 4 of which are Universes Beyond in 2027. Or 2026. That is a talking point of its own that people have beaten to death. I don't have a lot to add to it. It's a lot. It's intimidating to think about, especially when you see some of them and you're not sure how that works in Magic. I grew up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon, the first movie. I remember them very clearly. Huge part of my childhood. They have to surprise me because I have no hype for Ninja Turtles in Magic right now. And I have to remember that good creativity and a well-made product can still surprise me. And all that skepticism can and does get beaten out of me when they execute on something incredibly well. That is like Edge of Eternities is what I keep coming back to. Like, I did not expect anything from that set. That set is turned out to be amazing. I also didn't expect anything from Warhammer because I never played it. Didn't really follow the lore, and that turned out to be awesome. Will Ninja Turtles be awesome? There is a chance. I'm going into it with very low expectations. Secrets of Strixhaven. First Strixhaven was good, but guys, do you remember where we were when Strixhaven came out? It was like everybody was like, everything in Magic is derivative of something else. And this was their Harry Potter knockoff, right? That's what everybody called it. And when Strixhaven came out, its impact on Standard was pretty limited to like Divide by 0. That was about it, because it came out in a Kaldheim, still Eldraine shadowed, like they had banned Omnath, but Rogues was still around. Like Goldspan Dragon was a big card. Faceless Haven had to get banned. Like, do we remember when Strixhaven came out? It was considered pretty low power for the time. And while it went on to have some impact here and there in Standard, it wasn't like a mega set. It didn't, I don't think Strixhaven was a huge success from that standpoint. And in terms of Commander, it had those Commander decks. Well, the first Commander deck pre-con I ever played was from Strixhaven. It was the Conductor, is it one? And it was fine. I don't know where, like, the hype for Strixhaven, I think, is, like, looking back, rose-colored glasses. And I would have been more excited to explore more of the school and world of Strixhaven, but the preview panel, they announced that the story is going to take us outside of Strixhaven to explore the plane of Arcavius more. And what I remember from that was reading the story from Strixhaven, that every time we stepped out of the school and explored whatever was going on with Luca and Auric, it was pretty lame. That's what I remember. Maybe you guys read the lore differently. I'm not that excited to explore Arcavius. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like, wait, why are we leaving the school? The school's the most interesting part of this. So yeah, Secrets of Strixhaven has to Edge of Eternities me. Because at first look, I'm like, this could be another pretty vanilla, like, take on this plane. And if they go back to it in a similar sense of Tarkir Dragonstorm, and they don't fully execute on the themes of the set that transform into cards, that transform into playability and standard, I think this will be another very like forgettable set, just like the original Strixhaven was for me. Now, maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know. Was Strixhaven your jam? Was learning lessons the greatest thing for you? I enjoyed building my Divide by Zero sideboards until it got banned. But I don't remember the set itself being that hype or that good. So this doesn't on its own evoke hype from me. Then we have Marvel Superheroes, which has more cards revealed for it right now than any of the other 3 sets I announced, which is insane. And I do think Marvel Superheroes will eclipse Spider-Man by a lot. And it might bring that speculative money back into the market, which I'm concerned about. This is pure speculation on my part. I think this will be a well-executed set. I don't think they will mess this up twice. In terms of Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man had a lot of headwinds against it from a design standpoint. I think it was probably supposed to be a secret lair or supposed to be a very tiny Assassin's Creed set. And they said, axe that, we're never doing that again, fill the set. And so they filled it with every Spider-Man they could find in what was almost certainly a short deadline rush job by people just doing their best. I think Marvel Superheroes will not have that issue. I think it will have been under construction for many years by people who really want this to work and take their jobs quite seriously. And I think the Marvel fan base will show up for this set in a way they probably didn't for Spider-Man. So I think this will be a big hit. I think it might be the best selling set of the year. And I am, what that means for Magic, I don't know. But if you've listened to me yap for this hour, I should probably be a little more concise on some of these things. I think that my speculation for Marvel is it will overperform and be a very, very popular Magic set. It also falls in the exact same spot on the calendar as the 4th release of the year, like Final Fantasy did. And that might just turn out to be the money spot, the time when people have their tax refunds lined up and in they go. That's where the money goes. Next, we have The Hobbit. The Hobbit's going to be a very important set. It was my original pick for what would be the best-selling and most successful set of the year, but I am concerned about diminishing returns. I think the Lord of the Rings fan base will show up for The Hobbit. I think they will buy it, but I don't think it will be as successful as Lord of the Rings because, honestly, I think the Peter Jackson trilogy of The Hobbit took some of the casual hype out of that franchise. I think that a lot of people were bored by those movies. It wasn't as special. And I think that will subconsciously infiltrate the mindset going into The Hobbit. And it shouldn't. The Hobbit was a hugely successful book, and it will probably make a very excellent set to tell that story with plenty of legendary creatures that we already know and love. There is just a part of me that really wishes The Hobbit had come first to break that potential cycle of, okay, well, it's the sequel to The Lord of the Rings, just like the movies were. The Hobbit movies were the sequel to Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings was so successful. So it became just a thing they had to do, which became a bit of a chore and a cash grab on the movie side. And I think people will unnecessarily prescribe that to The Hobbit in Magic the Gathering because it feels similar because of the sequencing. But for me as a kid, like I watched the Hobbit animated movie first, I read the Hobbit book first, and then I watched the Lord of the Rings animated, Return of the King specifically animated movie, well before I watched the New Line Cinema Peter Jackson trilogy. And I read the Lord of the Rings after that, and that sequence was amazing. And maybe I'm just talking all anecdotally, but I do think The Hobbit, let me know in the comments, do you think The Hobbit will sell better than Marvel Superheroes? Because this is the tough one for me of which one will be the bigger hit, Marvel Superheroes or The Hobbit. I think The Hobbit has a better match for Magic the Gathering and a better IP, but I'm worried about just the letdown, so to speak. I guess it depends. Will there be a 1-of-1 Ring 2.0? I will see. Reality Fracture is the next Magic the Gathering set, the second to last set of the year, set in a Magic IP with some things that they want to try doing. The initial vibe on this, if any of you got to the end of the Lorwyn Eclipsed story, I'm going to spoil it. So you have 3, 2, 1 seconds to skip ahead or turn this off. But at the very end of the Lorwyn Eclipsed lore, a Liliana shows up who's all in white and appears to be Liliana the White, as opposed to her longtime color identity that is black, which implies to me that Reality Fracture could be going the route of alternate universes, alternate timelines, and those things coming together. Part of me wants this very much in Magic. I really do. That could be fun. And a part of me says every IP's done this, and I don't need more alternate timelines clashing together in Magic, because it feels so derivative of the Avengers multiverse, and everything as a multiverse, and I don't know. So I'll say what I said before. They have to Edge of Eternities this. They have to... My expectations are being weighed down by fear and exhaustion from this being done in other IPs in pop culture, and they have to break through that with amazing design. It could be that I'm so excited to see how Liliana translates into a white Planeswalker card that I'm excited to play with the card. That could destroy these that could destroy this anxiety in my head that I have for this like creeping dread, right? That could do it. So this is going to lean on card design. The card design has to be amazing. The playability has to be amazing, and Reality Fracture could be a huge success. I hope it is. Star Trek. I watched the original series and Next Generation. Spent a lot of time as a young person watching these with my dad. He loved to teach me lessons with sci-fi films. I've shared some of that on the channel before. I can't remember where last, but like he loved sci-fi. We would watch sci-fi, and he would take the lessons learned in an episode of Star Trek or in a movie like Aliens or Predator, and teach young CGV lessons, life lessons using this. And Star Trek had a lot of those life lessons. Very excellent show that I really enjoy. That said, Magic. I can't get excited to see William Shatner on a Magic card. It seems too strange. It seems too fan-altery to get me excited. And it's another case where it's going to take creative design and a lot of love to get it there. I asked myself, did Doctor Who work? I believe Doctor Who worked. I enjoyed some things about playing those decks, and I still enjoy owning those cards. Like collecting the Doctor Who set felt good as a Doctor Who fan. So I think Star Trek can do that too. But I still have so much apprehension about playing these cards in Standard. I still have so much apprehension after Spider-Man. That apprehension has to be defeated by good card design and playability and collectability. They could do it, but I am not excited for this the way that I want to be, the way that I'd like to be for a Universes Beyond set. I am still, to be clear, excited for The Hobbit. Love Middle-earth. Can't wait to visit there again, even like in a Magic form, 100%. And I am curious to see Marvel superheroes. My hype for that is medium. My Ninja Turtle hype is very low, even though I enjoyed those as a kid. And my Star Trek hype is very low, even though I consider myself a fan of the series. They don't match Magic to me. And I look at these like it could have been a Magic set. It also could have been Game of Thrones or various other IPs that match the Magic aesthetic of fantasy. In like that's really what I want. I don't know why I'm still hyped about Marvel, but I think it's just because it's Marvel. I can't get there with Star Trek and TMNT. In the tier list of IPs that exist in the world and what has been the most meaningful, impactful, and fun to me over the years, these are very much in kind of a childhood range, and Marvel and The Hobbit are above them. So they've got to do it with card design. They've got to prove it. But I do look at Star Trek and TMNT as the proving ground for Universes Beyond. Can they make these hit Standard sets that don't feel weird? Can they make it not feel weird? I don't know if they can. It's a high bar to clear, and they certainly didn't clear it with Spider-Man. They did it with Avatar, and they did it with Final Fantasy. Those work. But I don't know if they can do it with these kind of sets. I think it's going to feel weird. That's my fear. Bring it on. If you're a Wizards of the Coast watching this, it's time to step up on design, on every aspect of execution. And I know you guys are probably really overworked, because I know I am, because the amount of sets being released and the pressure on each one just keeps getting higher. But you guys have to follow up a year that included Final Fantasy and was probably the biggest year for Magic ever. That's a lot of pressure, and you got to deliver, because we are out there watching. There are a lot of people who don't like Universes Beyond, hoping that you fail, and they don't see how you could succeed. And you know what? Good luck. I do, at my core, want Magic to succeed, but I also really want a balance with a love for the things that go right with the game. And they haven't shown me yet that they can make something like a TMNT or a Star Trek fit seamlessly in the universe. I think they had it perfect when they had like things like Doctor Who in Commander, Fallout in Commander. Commander is a place where those things can exist in their own bubble. You can play all Universes Beyond against each other, or you can build 4 Fallout decks and only play them against other Fallout decks, right? I think that was perfect. Now that you have to cross-pollinate these things into Standard, it gets uglier. They have to show that they can execute on a Star Trek set that feels like it fits in the Magic universe. And Edge of Eternity's worked. This is going to be tough. Good luck. On that note, I'm going to top it off with a little extra for you on my way out the door from Secret Lairs. This was the year I gave up on Secret Lair. I, as a Magic collector, have enjoyed so many Secret Lairs over the years. I really have. I enjoyed them a lot. This was the year that cooked me for Secret Lair. Let me go over some of the IPs in Secret Lair, not even the total releases. It was over 20. But the IPs in Secret Lair: Jaws, The Office, SpongeBob, Final Fantasy, Iron Maiden, Furby, Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Play-Doh, Avatar, and there's probably things I'm missing. You can leave them in the comments. And this was the year that the wait times got crazy. This was the year that the amount of releases got crazy. And some of the product did get lazy. SpongeBob knocked it out of the park. I didn't mention Deadpool. That was a Secret Lair. Jeez, oh Pete's, what am I doing here? Deadpool was a Secret Lair. Oh my gosh. Like, insanely powerful design. SpongeBob, beloved Secret Lair, sold probably better than anything else. And yeah, look at the resale prices on that. But by the time we got to the end of the year, I'm like a Last of Us fan. I like God of War and Uncharted too. And I couldn't do it anymore. Like I couldn't go make sure that, I had a luxury most people do not have. I had a person on my team who logged in on the early morning on those Mondays, waited in line, tried to get in the queues and tried to order them for me. I didn't even have to sit in these queues for the most part, but I got exhausted of just like, wait, that's coming out this week. Wait, that's coming out next week. Wait. And then I could tell it was wearing also on them, because several times, even though they were there early in the queue doing their best, they didn't get what we wanted. It was like, don't worry about it, dude. I feel bad even asking you to do this job. I will just buy it on the secondary market later. And that never happened. I just didn't get around to going to the secondary market to buy it because there was another release there was another set to collect. I was pretty good up until this year on collecting Secret Lairs, and I gave up completely. And I think that if they can wear me out on Secret Lairs, I am a huge Magic fan. I am fully invested in Magic. I even enjoy these other IPs. I like making contact with these. Sonic. I didn't mention Sonic. I still haven't recorded the worst possible episode of Sonic the Hedgehog. I've got the decks just sitting there in the room, and every week I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like I can't right now. I can't play this right now. And I like Sonic. Like, the Secret Lair train wore me down. It really did. And I think that it's anecdotal, but let me know in the comments if you got exhausted. If you were a Secret Lair fan, not somebody who just hates on Secret Lair all the time, I want to hear from the Secret Lair fans. did you fall off the train this year? And like, could you get back on it? Or do you just tune in for like one secret lair a year now and that's it? Like, because that's how I feel. I feel like both me and my producer, huge secret lair fans who tried to get every like one that had any appeal to us or had a card or an art that we liked, and definitely every crossover IP we tried to pick up for the show. We just fell off and we're like, not anymore. That happened. I think that's a bit of important anecdotal evidence. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Let me know in the comments if you fell off the secret lair train this year. It might mean that we've met peak secret lair. We will see. There are always some big IP hits away from probably setting records with secret lair again, but I don't think I'll ever sit in that queue again. I'm going to say, hey, if I really want it, I'll get it on secondary market later, but I'm not sitting in that queue anymore. That's how I feel about secret lair. So as we head into 2026, what can you expect on this channel? Well, I'm going to keep playing Magic Arena. It is still, in my opinion, one of the greatest ways ever created to play Magic. And if you had told me I could have Magic the Gathering on my iPad or phone when I was a kid, like take it everywhere with me, man, that would have blown my mind as a kid. Because the biggest problem I had was finding somebody to play with. Not a problem anymore with Arena, baby. I can beat down some other opposition in Mythic anytime I need to. So more Magic Arena on the channel, 100% coming in 2026. And Worst Possible Commander Show, I'm taking it one project at a time. We'll see how it goes. It's hard to keep that show up. It is expensive to produce, but hey, as long as it has some support, and as long as you guys enjoy it, and as long as the people want to do it, I'm taking it one project at a time, and we'll see what happens. We'll also see if we get projects from other card games. If Godzilla card game returns, if Hearthstone needs any new content, if Riftbound wants to make some content, they know where to find me. Happy to do it. And of course, to all of those who had me as a guest on their channels this year, you know how to reach me. I'm always down for a game. I hope I get to do even half of the cool things I got to do this year with all of those other channels next year as well. The release lineup looks like an adventure. What a wild ride. But is there ever... If you are a content creator, wouldn't you rather have more projects than less, even if I don't get a vacation until next December? And speaking of that, I got to take my vacation now. So I'm out of here until I've got some Lorwyn stuff to release for you. Enjoy the reruns, the remasterings of some of my, what I would call my greatest hits here on the channel in the meantime. I think they'll be a lot of fun, and I hope that some of you enjoy them. And to those of you listening to the podcast will be back with more videos, I'm sure, in the new year when Simo and Raren are down to record some more, or I can find some other guests, or I just do solo yap sessions about various items. Thank you to everybody who listens on the podcast platforms, by the way. If you're on YouTube here, you can go check that out. There are links to Spotify in the description and Apple Music. And I've honestly been amazed by how much those have blown up on Apple and Spotify. Thank you to everybody listening there. You guys made me a podcaster this year. Bravo. It's good to be back. And thank you for watching this video. I will see you, not in the next video because those are remastered, but I will see you in 2026. Happy holidays to all. Happy New Year. You're cool.